Regime says it will send the plan to Kim Jong-un for his approval, and it's going to be up to him to decide whether or not the plan is actually going to get carried out. So the question is, if he decides to carry it out, how do we intercept North Korea's nukes, and what do we do? Here with some insight, we have former U.S. Navy SEAL and Zetas Global co-founder Dave Sears and Lieutenant Colonel James Carafano, Vice President of Foreign and Defense Policy at the Heritage Foundation. Good to see you both. James, I'll start with you. If he decides to lob these things into Guam, do we shoot him down? Do we retaliate?
Right. Well, first of all, he's not. Everybody writes, I think it's actually a de-escalation. People write contingency plans all the time. The fact that they're saying we're writing a plan actually shows you they have no intention of carrying it out. Can we shoot it down? You bet. We have Aegis missiles, which are based on warships. And also there's THAAD, which is a point defense in Guam. Would we shoot it down? The answer is you bet, because if they shot it at a trajectory towards Guam, you wouldn't be able to tell if it was a test or whatever. You'd have to assume it was a threat and you would shoot it down. So my guess is we would shoot it down and
But you don't think they're going to get to that stage?
I don't think they are, but if they did, here's what would happen. One, we would definitely shoot the missiles down. We have the capability. I think there's zero likelihood they'd actually reach their target. And then we would retaliate. We probably wouldn't drop a nuclear weapon, but we would drop a very big bomb from a stealth bomber on the site where the missiles were launched from, as like a little.
Do you run the risk, though, and I'll let Dave answer this question to get you into the conversation as well, but do you run the risk if we shoot his weapons down, and this is, and we're making the point, James is making the point anyway, he's probably not going to shoot them off to begin with, but if he were, and we shot them down, and then we were to drop a very large bomb on some of his nuclear arsenal, are you running a severe risk for Seoul? Are you running that risk for South Korea?
Sure. I mean, I'd look at the strategic piece of this thing. One, I'm not so sure that I would shoot him down, and I'm not so sure either that he won't launch them. He may decide to do that. We don't know. You launch 4, and he's said in his plan, or the plan that's getting submitted to him, that he's going to do 4. That's not as easy as we purport it to be to knock those out of the air. Now, he's also said he's not aiming them, the plan's not to hit Guam, it's to come near it. So do you run a strategic risk if we miss, and we're not 100% on the missile defense. I have great confidence in it, but it's not 100%. So if we miss, you run exposing a capability that we can't defend. So do you just let them go, fall into the sea? That's a decision that has to come, it's going to be at the time. And do you retaliate? I don't think so. I don't think you.
So you sit on your hands and you want to ignore him and you ignore him. At some point, we're all going to be at risk.
Yes,
look,
we are.
I think that's simply wrong, because on the vector they would be at, you wouldn't know if it was a demonstration or whatever. It's not like the tests when they fire them into the Sea of Japan. You would have to assume it's a real attack. And you would shoot them down. And yes, we would shoot them down, because even 4 is not enough missiles. We have more than enough redundancy to do that. And then I think, yes, you would retaliate. I don't think you necessarily would bomb a bunch of nuclear facilities. What you do is you would do a proportional strike, and what you would probably do is take out the facilities that those missiles were launched from.
Right, but if you do the proportional strike, aren't you still running the risk, James, that he then retaliates? I mean, this just keeps going on, right?
That's right.
But you've got so many people there, innocent people in the South Korea. Is he going to go after them?
No, there's massive steps in the escalatory ladder. The only next step for him would be to say, oh, fine, I'll start shooting missiles at Seoul. Look, then it's all-out war, and then North Korea disappears. Remember, the only purpose of this regime having these weapons is to ensure the maintenance of the regime. The one thing the regime knows is that as soon as it starts a war, the regime comes to an end. Yeah. So the logic is kind of irrefutable.
So do you think that the regime is kind of loving this right now? They're actually in the news?
Yeah, they're having a good time.
And Kim Jong-un gets to say, okay, we got a few days and I'm going to take a look at these grand old plans that you're all developing, and I'm going to decide whether or not we actually launch those missiles into the waters off of Guam, James.
He can keep them on the shelf. He can read them when he's bored. It'll be awesome.
Well, not really awesome. No. But anyway, Dave, James, good to see you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris.
And that does it for us tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to be back. Actually, I got a busy day tomorrow. I'm on Outnumbered at noon.